What's going on, everybody? This is the host of Recover Out Loud podcast, Sean Young. Before we dive in, I want to be clear. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not here to diagnose or treat. I'm simply a catalyst, someone who's walked through the fire and now speaks from experience, reflection, and a deep desire to help others find their way forward. This podcast may include honest conversations about addiction, mental health challenges, and suicidal thoughts or ideations. These are real parts of the human experience, and we won't shy away from them. If you're listening, please do so with self-care and self-awareness. And if you're struggling, please reach out. There's help out there. And most importantly, there's hope. Viewer discretion is advised. Now let's get it. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Recover Out Loud, episode number 98. Today, we got a really special guest. Today, we have Miss Meredith White. How are you doing, Miss Meredith?
I am amazing. Considering I'm going through a breakup in the last 24 hours, kind of a big thing, but you know what? Guess what? I don't have to get high over it today.
Oh my God, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And we're gonna talk about that. Doing stuff in the face of adversity and maintaining your recovery. That's important.
And my addiction made me want to cancel. That addiction that wants to tear you down and keep you down.
Yep.
I was like, no, not today.
I caught your post on Facebook, and I was like, I am so glad that I get to talk to her today, and provide that space of vulnerability. So it's pretty awesome.
Thanks.
So, Miss Meredith, would you like to give us an basic introduction of who you
I
are?
would love to. So, my name is Meredith White. I'm a certified sober life coach. I'm also a certified life transformation coach and a certified peer specialist. Um, I've gotten my certifications. I also recover out loud on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and Clapper, and apparently Lemon, and didn't know it. I currently have like over 185,000 people following my journey, and they've been following me for about a little over 4 years. I've been almost sober since November 1st, 2020. And I'm just out here trying to spread the message of hope and let people know, that it can be done. And that's why I post the good, the bad, and the ugly. I let people know that recovery is not all unicorns and rainbows, but it can be done.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I find that important, sharing your experience. I think a lot of people want to share their experience in the good time and like share and say, hey, I've been through this and it's great and it's gravy now, but sharing that experience in the times that it's not so great, right?
Yeah.
It's hard.
And there's been some really not so great times in recovery,
Oh, absolutely. And that's the one thing is that, life, I say this all the time, life doesn't stop when you get sober. It actually gets a little bit harder because you're learning.
Life be lifing. Life be lifing.
Yeah.
You think you're going through a good little day or something and smack something. You're like, ugh.
Yeah.
And it's, all these tools of recovery and these tools, once you know them, once you get them down, and once you practice them and make them a practice, make them a habit, make it to where it's natural, you can handle pretty much anything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I in my recovery, I've been through a divorce. I've been through a breakup. I've been through so many life changes that if I was still my active use or I was just abstinent from alcohol, man, I just would have relapsed. It would have been a thing. It would have been on the table. But in this part of my life, relapse is not an option. It's absolutely not an option because I have to show up for myself, and I got to show up for other people, and so that's really important. And I'm glad that you pointed that out.
And relapse for me is not an option as well. It's not, it's part of some people's stories. I've already done all that. I've relapsed so many times, and really it's just I wasn't finished using, and it wasn't relapse, and I was just not done.
Yeah.
And, but relapse is not an option for me. Backward steps, are not an option for me because I cannot lose everything that I have gained. I came here with one suitcase
Yeah.
and nothing, and an addiction, and I was very mentally ill, unmedicated, and I was a mess.
Yeah.
And now I'm looking to buy my first house.
That's
And
awesome.
I'm dog sitting in a house for clients for a week. I'm at their house, babysitting their babies, taking care of all their stuff. People wouldn't even let me in their house before, not because I'd steal from them, because I'd be so high, I was annoying.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. I get it. And that level of responsibility once once you get sober and you've got some sobriety under your belt, people start to see that you change. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful
And
thing.
they're actually in recovery.
That's awesome.
We found out, like, after I've been working for them for a while, that they're in recovery, and they're amazing, and because I showed up and I believed in myself and I put myself out there. You can't tell me you can't get a job, because I have too many jobs. People want me to work. I put my stuff on next door neighbor. Hey, I will clean and organize. Da, da, da. There's work out there if you're a recovering addict, and you can't tell me there isn't.
Yeah. Yeah. I've met so many people in recovery that if you wouldn't, if I had never mentioned that I was in recovery or sober, they never would have talked about it. And then so like
Right.
now being able to share that with people and say, hey, look, I'm sober, other people are like, oh shit, so am I.
Me
That's
too.
that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm working now. I say I'm naturally sober. I started with the 12 steps. I started in an AA. I did probably 150 meetings in 90 days. I did all the stuff, but it was so overwhelming for me, and so that my world was so small. And now I will never put AA down. I will never put any program down ever, because it saves lives. It just wasn't my path, you know. And I'm working on getting my medicinal marijuana card so I can get off of these meds that I'm on. But you'll never see me high, ever, ever. It's medication. And you can, you know what? You can abuse Tylenol. You can abuse Benadryl, NyQuil. The choice is yours. It's up to you 100%. We didn't ask to be born addicts. We didn't ask to be born alcoholics. We didn't ask for the mental health problems. But what we choose to do with that, when we choose to continue putting poison in, that's our choice, and that's up to us.
Absolutely. We're going to talk about that a little later on because I got a little tidbit about that too. So Meredith, would you like to share when you first started using drugs?
Sure. So I'll give you a little background. I was born in a real small town called Gaffney, South Carolina. Everybody kind of knew my family. My dad had the local insurance agency. My granny played the church, piano in the church, yada yada yada. And I had everything, perfect family, perfect everything. I didn't want for nothing. Went to private school, and about 8 years old, my life fell apart. My parents told me they were getting a divorce, and my world fell apart. Everything I knew as I knew it. And then shortly after that, my mother was shot, and my dad went to jail for it. And then I happened to be at my grandmother's house, and my mom called the next morning and said she'd been shot, and she was shot in the neck. It grazed her neck.
Mm.
So immediately, like, things were bad, and she let him out of jail. She dropped the charges so we would have a father. But immediately, so I started stealing. I thought maybe if I got in trouble, they'd work together and get back together. It failed miserably. And that was my first addiction. I was addicted to stealing. That rush. I was 8 years old, and I got away with so much stuff in that rush. That was my first addiction. And then when I was 11, I tried alcohol for the first time and got smashed. And I knew I had arrived. I was right where I wanted to be, and I couldn't wait to do it again. And I was 11, and I went to my first rehab when I was 13. I started young. So
Yeah.
I'll give you a little tidbit why I went to rehab. So my stepbrother, so we met my dad's family. He had a family living in the subdivision next to us. Yeah. And I soon met my soon to be stepbrothers and stepsister. And so my stepbrother, he was 4 years older than me, but he started molesting me and got me pregnant when I was 13. I had to literally push my way. This is back in the day when people would like protest at abortion clinics like bad. And I don't remember any of it, but I remember them calling me a murderer. I remember them screaming at me. I mean, I was a kid, you know, and so that started how I handled everything. And then they didn't know what to do with me, so they sent me to rehab.
Hmm. And I'm
Um,
sure that
and I
led to,
just learned to do more drugs. Like I couldn't wait. Like once I found out that I had that once I found out about all these new drugs at rehab, I couldn't wait to get out and try them.
I was gonna say that to me sounds like it would lead to a much deeper, darker hole.
It was well, and then everybody expected me to be normal and okay, go back to junior high school, go be a cheerleader, and so I did. And in seventh grade, I was popular. I was a cheerleader. I had friends and da 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 da. And dinging, I'm trying to turn it off. um, but until I got caught in the bathroom, we were smoking a joint, and they opened the door and they left me with it. And so I immediately became the kid that nobody's parents wanted them to play with.
Wow.
So I had to go to another group of friends,
Yeah.
and I did. And I was 16, and I started dating a 24-year-old that lived on the street behind me. I started doing cocaine for the first time, felt absolutely 100% in love. And this is the days when it was cocaine. Like,
Yeah.
and when I saw it for the first time, I saw a lot of it. And I was so like intrigued with the lifestyle. And it was so just like, glamorous to me. And I'm sorry. Can you hear the dogs barking?
It's okay.
I'm
I,
sorry.
hey, no need to apologize. It's a natural setting. It's all right.
So yeah, then I overdosed for the first time at 16.
Wow.
And my boyfriend gave me an ounce of cocaine to hold, half of it cut, half of it uncut. I was a 16-year-old kid, and he's like, "Yeah, you can do a little bit of it." Well, you have a lot like that, you can't stop, and I couldn't stop, and so I ended up with my stomach pumped,
Wow.
and off to the girls' home.
Yeah.
Off to the girls' home I go, and it's kind of hard to be cool when you go to the girls' home, when you're in high school, but I ended up having friends, man, and then I ran away from there. But I'm kind of just leading up. So when I moved back to that small town, moved in with my dad when I was 19, and I met this man at a youth group, and I was trying to do better. I always would try and get it back together, and I'd have moments of clarity, and I'd get it back together because I
Yeah.
wanted so bad to do good, and I just wanted life to be, I wanted to handle things okay. And when I was 19, I met this man who I thought was a good man because look, he's leading youth group. Like we go canoeing. That's where I got my love for the mountains, and I was a whitewater raft guide for a summer, and so I just thought he was my soulmate. Well, when I found out he sold marijuana, he definitely became my soulmate. So
Yeah.
we eloped. No, first uh, one night I went to the store in this small town, and I was driving behind it, and a guy came to my passenger side, got in my car, and put a gun to my head. And he took me behind the local college and raped me with a gun in my head. And he had a gun earring. I'll never forget it. And I literally like left my body, and I immediately, when he was done or whatever, I was smart and collected samples and went straight to the hospital and straight to the police department. And once again, pregnant, and I did not keep that one. I didn't handle that well either. I did drugs, did what I knew. I didn't know how to handle that. I mean, like, it literally was so much and so traumatic. I didn't leave my house for months until I eloped and went to Jamaica with my husband, the same one. And I guess that kind of broke the spell, but it was really bad. It was really brutal. It was really traumatic. It was really hard, and I didn't know how to deal with it. And for the longest time, I just had this anger and just, just this hatred. And I lived for the longest time up until last year. I carried serious anger, and it ruined like so many of my relationships until I finally was able to let it go and not take it back.
Yeah.
I would let it go. I'd burn it on paper. I'd do all the stuff. I'd bury it. I, set the intentions. I'd do all this stuff. But for some reason, I couldn't let it go. And then finally, I was able to let go of all that trauma in some sunflowers. I let the birds and the bees and the butterflies carry it away. And
Yeah.
I never wanted to see it again. And ever since then, like, I'm not angry anymore. I'm not mad anymore. And I just wish that I had those tools or had that ability to do it so much earlier. But I'm so much more at peace.
Yeah. I that was a really traumatic childhood, real traumatic, and I just want to say now, man, I'm sorry that you went through that as a child, as a teenager, as a young adult. Nobody should have to go through that. So I'm sorry that you went through that.
Thank you. And that was about the time I worked. I did have an amazing job. I worked, and I would still be doing this if it wasn't for cocaine, but I was a librarian assistant 1 year. And then the next year I was a kindergarten assistant, and it was for me, like playing dress up, like singing songs, taking naps, playing recess, doing all this stuff. Kindergarten was the best job ever for me. But then cocaine came again, and I was sober for 2 years, and somebody popped up, and then
Mhm.
I met crack cocaine, and it was over.
Oh
Done
yeah,
for. Hit the
yeah. I
different.
was my last guest and I were talking about it. He lived in the Bronx, whatever, and he was talking about his use and stuff like that. And I'll share with you what I shared with him. At one point in my early recovery, I didn't believe that people could get addicted on that first hit of cocaine, right, or the first hit of crack. Did you get addicted on the first hit,
First time, first hit, done,
or you
done.
first right there?
Took my life. Took years. I mean, it literally was like
Yeah,
done. I mean, it took everything I had, and then I met heroin. And
mhm,
see, the way I looked at it with crack, because I probably stayed up legitimately 10 years out of 15.
good.
I never slept, and even not high. I was unmedicated bipolar, so I was manic all the time, and But when I met heroin, that was with crack. I kind of felt like I was watching myself die. You know what I mean? And with heroin, I just felt like I was dying.
Yeah, I can imagine. So so you started doing crack, and then you started doing heroin. How deep did that take you?
Oh, I mean, Sean, let me tell you, like, it takes you places. It takes your soul. I mean, I lost my children, the people I would die for, and that's one of the reasons I stayed high, because I hated myself so much for being the shitty mom that I was. And I would jump in there. I was in their lives, but I wasn't in their lives. And my mom was really good about it. My mom adopted them. And she would tell them, your mom loves you. She's just really sick. And now I have a great relationship with my kids. I'm getting ready to move in with my daughter and granddaughter, which you would have the last time we lived together, I was living in basically a trap house, and she was, I guess, 18,
Mhm.
and it was not a good situation. She saw the very worst, and the very worst. Like, when I mean to tell you, like, I lived in a shed one time that was a garage, like a trash building that went to somebody's house, and I had to clean all the trash out of it. And this is what the like logical I was thinking. "Okay, I'm going to make this like this." There were mice, there were roaches. I slept in the woods. This is how bad it got. I slept in the woods with no blanket, no nothing. I ate out of a dumpster. I ate out of the Aldi dumpster. That's how bad it got, because they put their fruit on top at night.
Yeah.
And I knew that. And my friend and I would go by and get fruit,
Mhm.
because I spent all my money on drugs, all of it. And I just felt, and I was real, real mad at God. Like, I felt like God could take it away. Like, why don't you've got the power to take it away. Why don't you just take it away from me? And I'd stay, I carried my faith. I've always believed in God. I was raised in the church, but I'm real spiritual. I'm not
Yeah.
organized religion. And, my God is my God. But I
Yeah.
was mad. I was pissed. I was like, why can't you take this away from me? And you know what? The whole time I feel like he was giving me the power. He was giving me the strength. I was using it for the wrong things.
Yeah. If you believe in God and the Bible, I necessarily don't, and that's okay. But in the Bible, it says that we were given free will, right? And that's the thing that a lot of people forget is like Christians forget, and even some more progressive people forget is that like we were born with free will, where we get to choose, and we can make that conscious decision every day to wake up and make our life better or continue to fall down
You're
that rabbit hole.
exactly, and I say that all the time. Every day. I can't change in any of the stuff I did. I can't take back the hurt that I did to my family or anybody else. So I have to make a living amends every single day. I wake up and I'm the best I can be. Even if I'm not having a good day and I just gotta like have a mental health day or whatever, but that's the best I can be that day. That's the best I can be. I don't hurt anybody, I don't steal from anybody, and I don't lie to anybody. And yeah, I try and help somebody every single day. Those four things are what keep me going, because if I sat in that shame and guilt, that is what kept me high. That's
Yes.
what, you know what I mean? And if I stayed in there, I would never be where I am today. It comes up all the time when I'm with my granddaughter. It's bittersweet. It hurts me because I see these things that I'm doing with her that are so great that I should have been doing with my daughter. And it hurts and it's hard. But if I can't sit in it, I have to sit, think about it, let it hurt for a second, and move forward and do the next best thing.
Absolutely. And you also shared about using because you felt like a shitty mother. And that I found myself in that when I was in my active addiction is I would feel bad because I felt like a shitty father, I felt like a shitty husband, and then so I would drink. And I would drink because of that, but then like I felt like a shitty father,
Right.
and I wasn't fixing anything. It was just that vicious cycle.
It's a vicious, vicious cycle. And I literally, even in recovery, I hated myself for a long time until I did I did a 21-day self-love challenge. Somebody gifted it to me and they're like, "Will you try it?" And I was like, "Well, sure. I'll try anything once." And
Yeah,
I was willing to try it because when I got in recovery, I became willing to do whatever it took to have a better quality of life. Not just recover, not just get sober, but I want the best quality of life. So I was like, sure. So what it was some mirror work. I didn't do it the whole thing the way it was supposed to be done, but I did enough of it to make it work. And like my first video, I had to tell myself I love myself in the mirror, and I was like, "This is the dumbest thing I've ever done, but I love you." And I started doing that, and I started doing that, and I started doing that, and I was fake drunk, and started setting in. And then I started finding things I loved about myself. And when I'm having a day that I don't, really feel too good, I got to think of all like the things and accomplishments and the things that I've done, because sometimes that addiction and that voice in the back of your head is still, you ain't shit, you still a junkie, you still, you can't do that. Like my podcast I want to do, you can't do that. Nobody wants to hear what you want to say. That's that addiction talking. and
yeah,
and got to bat that thing off.
yeah.
And those voices don't go away. Like they get a little bit quieter, and you can use some tools to bat them away, but they still going to be there. And I had somebody recently tell me, Sean. So somebody told me that I couldn't talk to professionals because they wouldn't relate with me. So guess what? I am the spotlight speaker for a professional networking event in August, because what I'm going to find out how we're all similar instead of different. I want to see how our similarities, because I'm pretty sure that we can all relate to each other. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. And you're talking about the self-love portion, and that's so huge in recovery. And I
huge.
found, just like you, I found myself hating myself. And I despised everything about myself. I would pick apart everything about myself. I would look in the mirror and say, "Oh, I hate the way I look because I look just like my father, who was an alcoholic, who's just like me. If like, fuck you, right?" And
Right.
like, just it got real heavy. And I had this counselor, great counselor, probably the best counselor I've ever had. And he was like, um, what I want you to do is write down 5 things you love about yourself every day, but they cannot be the same thing, and they can't be superficial. And I was like, "You are taking my power away." He's like, "No, I'm giving it back to you."
Mm. That's
And
deep.
essentially, yeah, and so, like, I would be like, "Oh, I like myself because 'cause I'm kind and I'm generous." And then when I ran out of stuff like that, I had to, like, really dig deep, and that's the painful shit is because, like, for me, I didn't love anything about myself because I hadn't yet forgiven myself. And so
Amen.
in that, I had to forgive myself.
There you go.
If
You just
if you
mic drop. You have got to, until you forgive yourself, you can't like yourself.
No, no, and most of the time when I was making amends to people, they didn't even, like they were like, "Oh, it wasn't that big of a deal," but I never made amends to myself, you know? I never did, and when I got to that point where I had to forgive myself, that was the hardest damn thing that I had to do in recovery.
Yeah.
It was learn to forgive myself and just and give myself grace because we are our own worst critics.
Oh yeah, for sure. And when
Yeah,
you're on, like, especially for me, being on social media is really hard. People are really mean. I
yeah,
had to get used to having strong skin because when I had my first video go into the millions, the trolls came out. You're ugly, you're old, you don't have no teeth, just die already, go OD. There's some mean stuff, and it hurt for a while, but then I was already confident and liked myself enough, and I was like, why am I letting them bother me? Like, why? And then so somebody, I want to tell you this. Somebody explained this to me about those voices in your head. So I'm not going to sit here and let you talk trash to me. I'm not going to sit here and let you tell me those things. So why am I going to let anybody else do it?
right, right, and the thing
I mean,
is
why am I going to do it to myself? That's what I meant to say. Why am I going to talk to myself? I'm not going to let you talk to me like that. I promise. You
right,
know?
right. One of the approaches that I take is like people anything that people have said to me, I've said 1,000 times in the mirror to myself. It doesn't hurt. But on top of that too is there's something hurt within them, and hurt people
Yeah.
hurt people. You know,
Hurt
so
people hurt.
I take that, and also I take a stance of education where I'm like, let's make this a teachable moment for you because obviously you don't understand how addiction works because either A, you haven't faced it, or B, you're in active addiction right now and you don't understand what's going on in your body.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I,
Hurt people do. Like, and I don't even let it bother me anymore because it boosts my video. So I'm like, thank you.
the engagement, it helps you.
Love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I always like to talk about the nexus, right? Like, what was that pivotal moment for you that was like, shit is bad and I need to fix it?
So I'm going to tell you, so rock bottom really wasn't a place for me. As I've said, I vacationed there. I had frequent arrivals and departures.
Yeah.
But I can tell you the exact, I don't know what day it was, but I can tell you what happened. And I was sitting in that same trailer trap house that I lived in. My heroin dealer lived in the other end of it. So it was real easy being an addict. I wasn't even high or anything. I was sitting there in that room and I was sitting on the bed that I found my best friend dead in.
Mm.
I walked in, he was dead. And I was sitting there, and when I mean to tell you, there was this dark, heavy, thick cloud of dark gray clouds over me. I looked around. I said, I can't even talk, and I have nobody to talk to. And I knew right then I was going to die. And I knew right then my kids flashed before my eyes. I said, I'm not going to die. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm not going to die. That choice right there was my stepping stone to recovery. I would like to say that I went and got sober right then, but I didn't. I got sober real unconventional until I went to treatment in 2020. But I quit heroin cold turkey. I quit meth cold turkey. I quit cocaine cold turkey. I quit opioids, pills cold turkey. The alcohol I came up to Louisville to do. Yeah, I did all those on my own, and they were all tough, and I did them all differently.
Yeah.
I don't suggest anybody taking my path either. Not that one. But then in 2020, I went to the brook. Well, I went to detox. So I got drunk and went to my son's soccer game. I tripped over the trash can in front of all the spectators and was yelling, and I embarrassed my whole family. So I told my mom, I need help and I need it right now. So can you give me a ride? I'm about to call some. And I went to detox for 2 days. And then I told my mom a lie because I didn't want to be there. I told her they didn't take my insurance, come get me. And so she did. And then, so my son's soccer coach ended up calling, and he ended up, he's an AA. God rest his soul. He's dead now. But he is the one that led me to the Brook, which is it's a treatment center. Well, it was COVID. I called this treatment center every day for 2 weeks to get in and to get the counselor that he said saved his life. So I did, and it was COVID. So I had to do it on Zoom. Treatment on Zoom was real interesting, but it saved my life. And my counselor, I couldn't stand him. He called me the Hot Mess Express. Because I was a mess, and I didn't like him because he told me about myself, and I would have to go in the next day and apologize. But he truly made me see that I was what problems I needed to deal with, and that was just my start recovery. I knew immediately. Same way when I knew when I was never going to put another needle in my arm, I was never going to pick up another crack pipe. I just knew I would be done, and never like. I don't have triggers. I don't have cravings. I don't want dope. I don't think about it. Like, I know some people have a hard time. I don't have a hard time at all. Like, I just had enough. And people say, well, how did you do it? I go in liquor stores. And when I first got sober, it was a little hard, but I did this thing. So I put, whenever I see a liquor bottle or a wine bottle, I see my kids or my granddaughter's face in front of them. So I don't even see the alcohol. Like, I can hold alcohol. I mean, I've been to parties where they toasted me with shots, and I had my Coca-Cola. They toasted my sobriety with shots, but because I've had enough. Like, I don't, I've lost enough.
Yeah.
I've lost enough.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. When I was in my early recovery and like I would watch something on YouTube and there would be those liquor commercials, I used to cuss them out. I mean, don't you fucking know? And it's like I just put myself in a victim stance, right? And and if I would drive by, liquor store, I'd be so damn mad because that was the liquor store I used to go into, and I couldn't go in there anymore. But then I got to this point where I was like, it doesn't bother me anymore, right? Like I've gone, I can go to Texas Roadhouse and sit by the bar, and it's like it doesn't even matter to me, right? I can
Right.
I can, I can go and somebody say, "Hey, can you hold my drink for a second?" I'm like, "Yeah, here, I'll hold it for you." I'm not going to sip it or even fucking smell it, but I'll
Right.
hold it, right?
No,
And it's no longer a temptation. One question I did have is some people have said like right before they get clean or get sober that they've seen the devil. Is that something that you went through?
sure did. Had a very, very strange, I'll never forget it, experience in my closet. I guess I'd been up for days or whatever. I was laying in my closet as a walk-in closet, and it was there. A girl was there, man. Okay, so this girl was not a Bible toting Christian speaking in tongues type of girl, but there was something in me. I don't know what it is, but I was screaming and at the top. I mean, I'm crazy, but I'm not even crazy like that. And
Yeah.
I could not stop screaming like I was so angry at crack and drugs, and I felt demons. And I know that sounds crazy, but something was in me, and something, because it's not me. Like, that's not me. I bring the light. I like to say Meredith White brings the light, because I like to be sunny. I like to be bright. I like to spread love.
Yeah. But you were
And
stuck in that perpetual darkness.
I was stuck. I mean, I was stuck, and it was, and my last run was real bad, and I've been pistol whipped,
Mm.
and I've had two men rob me at gunpoint with shotguns and masks, and I've had so there's a lot of things, like PTSD and all that. But I handle it. I roll with it. And yeah, I've got PTSD. Yeah, of course I've got PTSD. I've been hit over the head. I've been raped, but I handle it with tools, and it can be done. There is life after trauma. There is life after addiction. There is life with mental health issues. It is what you make it. You're going to get out of it what you put into it.
Absolutely. So you were talking about being ushered into AA and into a recovery program. What was that first meeting like for you?
Well, hell, I've been to so many of them. I mean, well, actually, I'll tell you, it was kind of cool. So it was during COVID, and it was against the law. So it was an underground meeting, and there's about 150 people there. And the only reason I went was because I met a homeless girl and told her she might need to go to AA.
You
And
asked
so she ended up being my angel. I never saw her again. I went and picked her up, or we went and got her and took her to this AA meeting. I never would have gone in because there's so many people. There's so many people that have microphone. They have music playing and everything. Nobody was wearing masks and shit. I was like, this is wild. This is wild. I don't know what's going on, but I'm here for it. And I met some really great people that are still in my life today. We may not be on the same path either, but I still, we still respect and judge, love each other.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to the judgment out here, and people quit judging people for how they're living. Let them live so they can help somebody else that's dying. Worry about the people that are dying. Don't worry about people living.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is your standpoint on MAT, medical assisted
I'm
treatment?
all for it. If you don't abuse it, but like I said, you can abuse anything. The choice is yours.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
want to abuse it, then that's your choice. If you like everything else,
You
you
know,
know,
go ahead.
I started. So I broke my foot,
Mm,
and at Christmas 2 years ago,
mhm.
and instead of taking narcotics, I ate some edibles, and I made it through Christmas. And I was like, I'm not high, but I feel better.
Yeah.
And and okay, what am I doing? And then I realized from TikTok, there's a whole world of people recovering differently. And I was like, wait a minute, what is going on? Until I saw TikTok, I was stuck because I was raised with the 12 steps is the only way to go. That's the only way you can do it. That's the only way. And when I found out that there was a whole out there that are recovering differently, and and a lot of people celebrate it. They
Yeah.
don't get celebrated. That's why I created the I can't even think, the Simple Recovery Society and Simply Sober, because I wanted a safe space for people, and I want a place for people to feel celebrated, because they need to feel celebrated. It's an awesome, huge thing that people are doing recovering, and so I'm trying to create that space and let them know that there's no judgment, and they have a space with me. They have a safe space, and I
Yeah.
just want people to feel like that they're cared about and that they're loved, regardless of how they're recovering.
Absolutely. When I was in my early recovery, I was completely against MAT, um, because when I was in jail, I seen people abusing Suboxone. They
Hmm.
were taking it and put it in their eyes and all that shit, and I was just like, "You're not doing anything for yourself but getting high, right? Like it's
Yeah.
supposed to help you." And so like I was against it for the longest time,
Hmm.
probably 2 years, and then one of my friends that I met from the army, and he lives in Nashville now, and I went over to his house, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm on Suboxone," and I was like, "Well, tell me about that." And he told me, and he said, "I have a prescription. I don't deviate from my prescription. I do urinalysis. I do blood tests, all this other stuff, and it really showed me like it works."
It
And
works.
then,
It works. You work it.
oh, absolutely, and like you said, it can be abused, but if it's not being abused, then it's okay. And that's I held that same stance for marijuana for a long time, until I started like doing research and seeing what it's done for people and seeing how it's helped people. And I recently, within the past, I don't know, 3-4 months, got off my mental health medication because the side effects are so much worse than what it's doing.
It's horrible, and I'm tapering down right now from medication that has horrible side effects. That's part of the reason my mouth does what it does,
Yeah,
and that could possibly never go away.
yeah,
So But you know what? But you'll never see me hide. Like everything I do, you know, and you'll never see my. You'll always be able to pick up the phone and call me, and I'll be able to get in my car and drive. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I went to the VA and I told my psychiatrist, I said, I'm not taking your poison anymore.
Good for you.
And she looked at me. Well, so essentially what happened, much like, you're going through a breakup now, and I was going through a breakup where I was gaslit into believing that I needed medication, my
Mm.
mental health medication. So I went, and like after being told so much for so long, you kind of start to believe it. And so I went and got on medication, and the side effects were so much worse, right? Like I'd get stinging, like horrible stomach pains. It would deplete me of all energy, and like my appetite went out the window. On top of all the other stuff it does in your body, that's just like right there in front of you. And so when I broke up with her, that was the last day. That was the first day I stopped taking my medication. And one of my friends was like, marijuana will help you out, because with SSRIs, it gives you what I call the brain zaps, where it feels like there's spark plugs in your brain just constantly.
I love that.
I would take a step and it would be like, and so somebody was like, marijuana will help you out. And I found myself at this crossroads where I'm like, do I do it? Do I not do it? How do I do it? If I do it, what are the side effects? And then I was like, it's mindset for me at this point. If I'm
There you
doing
go.
if I'm doing it so that I don't feel the pain, I'm
You're
not
gonna
doing
look at you have to look at it as medication.
it.
And
Mhm.
if you don't look at it as medication, then you're gonna look at it and people look at it as a drug. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But it's taking your medicine the same way. I can't take Xanax because I'm gonna forget that I can't do cocaine. And
Yeah.
but I function on high anxiety. And there are times I literally really even using every tool that I know. There are times my body is so physically like shaking. I need anxiety medicine, but I can't take it. Like, and I'm
Yeah.
not because I won't take. I mean, it's not that I wouldn't take it responsibly right now, but I wouldn't want to put myself in that position, or give myself that opportunity to abuse it. I just wouldn't want to make it hard for myself, and that would be making it hard for myself. I mean, I had to take my daughter had throat surgery, or she had her tonsils out. And let me tell you, the hardest thing I had to do was crush up oxys and bring them to her. So you want
Ooh,
to talk about something hard? That was tough. But when
yeah.
it's for your child, it's different. And I looked at it in a different way. But it was tough every time I had to bring it to her.
Yeah.
But it makes you stronger. And but you got to look at it as medication.
Yeah.
And it's getting us way, way more, accepted. And
Yeah.
people just say, I'm naturally sober. And you know what? There's a lot of us, and we're out here doing some beautiful, beautiful things,
That's good segue, because I was about to ask, what does life look like for you now, and what are you doing for your recovery now?
So I'm doing as much as possible. I have the Simple Recovery Society, which I'm working on my website to get it launched. I'm working on, I'm really close. I really want to launch this podcast. I really want to get it set up and I really want to get it launched. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time, and I let imposter syndrome like keep me from it. And I'm about to go hard. I'm going to use this breakup, and instead of being sad, I'm going to go harder. And then tonight I'm going to a ribbon cutting event for a charity for women. I'm able to get out in my community now because I have a license again. I have a car that's paid for. Um, so now I'm able to get out and be a part of my community. And so I'm going to get out there and make myself my business. I'm going to let people know, the Simple Recovery Society is a safe place in the community and in the world. I really just want people to, the naturally sober, the people who don't get celebrated. And I want to share their stories. And I also want to share family members, because I feel like our supporters are really not celebrated as much, because without them,
Yeah.
I couldn't have done it. I couldn't have done it. But recovery looks real good for me. I'm trying to set up an all recovery meeting here at the local recovery center. By the way, the Kentucky Harm Reduction Center, I support them 100%. They give out. I went to a podcast at the Kentucky Harm Reduction Center,
Yeah.
and somebody was overdosing on the sidewalk So they saved their life right in front of me. Did the podcast, and you know what? They got so many citations and stuff. The police would give them such a hard time. They had to shut down that spot. So there's nobody out there narcating people out there. How that just makes me so mad. I can't even get into all that. But yeah, you know, these organizations, these are the people that these people, Our Lady's Sake, who I'm getting ready to go to. They're getting together tampons and pads for women that don't have them on the street. Man, I wish I'd have had. That's a huge issue for women on the street. Trust and believe. Um, and so, and I'm actually part of that. My dinging was I've been asking people for donations because when we get off here, that's where I'm going, and I'm going to buy whatever they send me. And I just want to support these people that are helping people that I would have liked to have, in my corner. And so until I get my nonprofit started, I'm going to be out here supporting others because that I believe in and that I align with. But like I said, I'm building mine, and the podcast is like it's the first thing that I have truly woken up and been like, man, I can't wait to do this. I can't wait to get it started. And if I can just get it started, I'll be good. It's getting the setup and all that started.
Yeah.
But our stories save lives. The first, and I'm not saying that to brag. I'm not saying that or anything. I'm telling you because people have told me they went to treatment from watching my videos on TikTok. People have told me that they got sober and because I inspired them. Because I've shown my walk, I've shown my journey since I was 30 days sober. My first TikTok is 30 days sober. Now I'm like 1,700 days sober. So they've gotten to see all these things. I started off with a debit card, now and now I got a credit card. All these small, little, teeny, tiny baby steps that you got to take to go back to life. A debit card at 45, starting over with, my bank account again. Get a bank account, get an ID, get all the stuff. And now I have a credit card. So, it's just all these baby steps. And it's I really think it's just waking up every day and not taking any backward steps.
Absolutely. Before we go, I've been asking my guests since I started re-recording again. What are 3 things that you're grateful for today?
Oh, I am grateful for free will.
Mm.
I am grateful. I'm grateful for gratitude because gratitude for me is not just a list. Gratitude for me is a way of life. Without gratitude, I flip my thoughts all the time and say, like, if I don't want to sweep, I'll be like, I'm grateful I have a place to sweep. I started living in that because I got sober living with my mom and we argued a lot. And instead of yelling back at my 76-year-old mom, I would start this mantra in my head. I'm grateful to have a mom. I'm grateful she's still here. I'm grateful to have a place to live. And it had to be a practice in all my life. So instead of bitching, moaning, and complaining, I switch it.
Yeah.
The things I don't want to do, I find something to be grateful about and doing them. And the other thing I'm grateful for love. I'm grateful for the love that I get from the real love.
Yeah.
The real love.
Oh, I absolutely understand that. Miss Meredith, where can we find you at?
You can find me on TikTok. It's Simply Sober. You can find me on YouTube. It's Meredith White 56. And you can find me on Facebook. I'm Meredith White. And I will soon be on Booze Free News. I'm putting it out there. It's coming soon to a network to you.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. That's good to hear. All right, Miss Meredith, I want to take a moment and say thank you for spending some time with me on this episode, and thank you for being so vulnerable. And it's been a great conversation.
It has. I've really enjoyed it. Yeah, like I said, man, and I think what you're doing is awesome, and I'm just super proud of you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And everybody, I want to say thank you for sitting with us and hanging out with us for this time that we have. Thank you for listening in, and be kind to yourself. Be gracious to yourself. Love yourself. You are loved. You are worthy. You are worth it. Love you.
You matter. You matter.
Absolutely.